and this is the first video of 2023. Now, 2022 was a crazy year for me. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I didn't really talk about, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Everything that I did in 2022, starting at the beginning of the year. But before I jump into that, I want to show you guys what I've been working on yesterday, pretty much for the whole day. I think you guys are gonna like this pretty cool thing that I've done to the 250. So here it is, F250. And what I've done is I've built a custom snowblower rack to hold snowblower. So what a good way to bring in 2023 by actually doing some cool stuff. So basically what this is a rack that can hold a snowblower. And I've only got one side done right now. It will have the other side right here. Basically what I've used is some heavy duty metal. Like this is aluminum plate. And just to put in perspective how thick this plate is, it's like a half-inch thick plate. With that, we built out a rack out of aluminum. What I really like about aluminum, it's super stiff and it doesn't really corrode. I mean, it will oxidize on the outside and stuff, but it won't corrode too bad. So for hardware, I'm using grade 8 zinc coated hardware. This is the stuff I've been using with my aluminum quite a bit. And basically, I just nut and bolt and thread locker. I use a little bit of blue thread locker on that. And we're using some heavy duty ones underneath here. I've only got two in right now. Those are holding the angle. We're using some heavy duty angle here. Heavy duty thick angle iron. And underneath that, which I can't show you without taking it all apart, is a Gen Y pencil mount, solid steel that's mounted to the aluminum plate that puts this onto the truck. So this thing's pretty stout. I mean, I can stand on it. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm standing on this thing, solid. It can take my weight. Now, it's a little sketchy to stand on the back end because that's all leverage away from the point of like where it's mounted. So as you get away, that's like what, 24 inches or so. And that thing, if I'm standing on that, I got a 24-inch lever. Now I'm starting to get away from it. So let's stand on this. And when you're standing on the back here, you can feel it maybe flexing a little. And it's surprising that that thick aluminum plate would even flex at all. But it can take the weight. If I were to jump up and down on this, it'd probably break. But I can definitely just stand on here and it won't break. So being that I'm using this flat bar, the stock, it has no angle into it, kind of a disadvantage in a lot of ways, but that was the only way to be able to sneak behind the spinner because I really want to get around the spinner. The whole deal is with the salt spreader being able to bring these machines. So I guess since I'm showing you this, I can throw this machine on there and show you kind of how that looks, a couple different ways that it can go. So let me do that. Let me grab so I'll have to set the camera down like over here like this just to show you this. So two different ways that it can go. It can either stand on its nose or stand or sit normal, and it's wet, so I'm gonna probably get wet. It rains literally all day. So these snowboards are kind of heavy. They weigh like 70 pounds. So picking it up kind of sucks, especially if it's wet, which it is. So you can lift it up. Oh my goodness. So it's harder to pick up if you're not trying to get wet, and it's wet. Yeah, that's how it goes, like that, and that's one way to mount it. Pretty slick. And the other way that it could go on here is, well, what I'm finding is this chute the chute's kind of close to the spreader, and it's got to be in this orientation or it won't fit. So another thing that I can do is I'm gonna have to get wet. Oh. Another way I can do it is I can stand it on its head, on its face. This is kind of how you would service this machine, changing an oil spark plug or something like that. You tip it up, but if I tip it up, I can kind of grab it like this, and I can set it up in there. Oh my goodness! And it can go in there like this. Let's see if we can adjust it. So that's the other way that it can go. And when it's like this, it's kind of sticking out backwards less, and it looks kind of cool. Only problem with putting it like this is you get a small fuel leak from here, very slow drip, but it needs a ratchet strap. You can't bungee it. Bungees don't work that good for this because they are heavy. So this is how we're bringing in 2023. So I've built one side, I filmed that a little bit, and I'm really going to film me building out the other side because I kind of had to play with it a little bit to figure out exactly how I wanted to get this. But I'm also going to be doing some lights on this. I just had a camera failure on this truck. That's an OEM camera in that housing, and it just failed, and I just bought that camera a year ago, and it literally failed again. So I don't know what's going on with their cameras, but they're having problems. But I did a video on that, diagnosing that issue, and I put some convolute over the wire here to clean it up a little bit, zip tied it down. And yeah, so I'm gonna actually film me building the other side. I filmed this side a little, but I had to figure stuff out, so I didn't really show the details. I just kind of showed the process a little bit. So that video will be coming out soon. I ordered a 7-way plug to go in the rear of this truck to plug it in so that I can power some accessories. I want to power these lights. Your 7-way has reverse, so I'm going to use the reverse circuit to power reverse lights. And another thing is that my salt spreader provides a hot wire for powering accessories, but it doesn't give you a ground. So I'm going to use this 7-way that I got to power ground. But anyway, what I want to do today is talk about the year. You know, how did everything go? 2022. I know a lot of us have seen, you know, whatever I've been up to through video, but there's a lot of stuff that happens that maybe I didn't talk about, and that's what I want to talk about today. So I got some stuff that I gotta do, and I guess I'll bring you guys along with me. I gotta go through the house because the gate's all locked up. Oh, and I need a water. Here's a look inside the fridge. A little water. Man, lifting those snowblowers really got me out of breath a little bit. I need to maybe practice lifting those up more. I think normally 2 guys should lift that because they're awkward. But let's go on a little mission together. I'm going to set the alarm here. Sure everything's closed. Let's set that. It's a new year, very cool. Time to start moving forward. Yes, it is time to start moving forward. What's going on here? I gotta shut these doors better. Oh, this one's not shut. All right. Yeah, time to start moving forward for sure. Got my keys. Okay. I'm known to lock myself out of the house. We're going on a mission. We're going on a mission like Mel Gibson. So here's a 22 350. We're gonna jump in here. I'm gonna try to set this up so that you guys can call in again like last time. But I'm live streaming from my daily phone, which is a newer phone than my other phone that I was using last time. I wasn't super thrilled with the video quality on that. So if you want to call in, we're gonna have a different phone number because that other phone, I'm gonna try to use it. It needs to be updated. Here's a look at this phone. This phone really needs an update because it's like a Google. Some old waters here. It's a Google Pixel 2 or something. So when I live off of this thing, it don't look so hot. So maybe having a new phone will help. Also, what I'm gonna do is go live also from my other camera. Not live, but I'm gonna film with that one just in case, so the footage might look better. So let me flip this. There's me. I'm gonna mount this on my phone mount. Hopefully that looks a little bit better than last time. We'll see. And if anybody wants to call in, I'll put the email in there. It might be a different email because I don't have access to my other personal email. Oh, this is my work phone. This goes in my truck, my work truck. And it's actually a phone, it's got the internet and stuff, but it's just the oldest. I mean, I probably bought this phone 5 years ago. So let me see what, let me switch over. Hopefully this audio didn't get messed up. I got to switch over to a different Bluetooth. View devices. Comment below on the audio. Well, you wouldn't be able to hear me. So this is connect phone to media. Boom. So can you guys hear me right now? I just switched over the audio or the connectivity to the Pixel 2, and that phone's going to be the call-in phone, and this phone that I'm using, this is my daily phone. Hopefully it looks clearer. Another thing, I'm leaving my home right now, so the internet might pop off for a second, so I'm gonna have to switch the internet right now so that as soon as I pull away, the Wi-Fi gets weird. So it's gonna want to hold on to my Wi-Fi. Get weird on me. We're live. Okay. So I gotta switch that now because if I don't, then as soon as I pull away, it gets all messed up. So 2023. Oh, by the way, I'm filming this on 2 devices. So I'm gonna film this on my daily camera as well as my cell phone, which is live. The live video, when it's saved, it hasn't looked the best. So I'm doing 2 cameras. All right, so that one's recording as well as the live. Maybe the live will look better with the better phone. I don't know. Seems like it looks a little better already, but 2022, guys, was a crazy year for me. A lot of stuff went down. A lot of changes. Whew. A lot of changes, guys, in my life. And it says, look out, 23. Here we come. Here we come. So 2022 was a big year for me. It was the first year that I wasn't working at Ford's. You know, it's the first year that I'm not working at Ford. And basically, guys, I quit Ford in 2021 in August. And it's not something that I talked about a lot. Because the reality is, guys, it's not something that I'm super proud of. The fact that I left Ford Motor, like I didn't really want to leave Ford Motor Company in 2021. I was having a good time there. Although there's been some rough years there, like 2021 was a really good time for me at the company. I had the drive that I wanted. We launched the 2021 F150, that updated year, was a really good year there. So it was the second new vehicle launch that I was part of in the company. I was there for the 2015 model year where everything became aluminum. That was a great year to be there, to see the change from the steel body to the aluminum body. What a big change. And then seeing the 21 F-150 get launched, that redesign was a big redesign as well. Seeing that launch was just a huge amount of pride for me to be part of. And the job that I had, being a tag relief guy, it was a lot more involved. I got to be a lot more involved in the process. I got to see a lot more of it, and just the jobs, just being part of how the training and figuring out how we want to set everything up and dealing with all that stuff. That was really good, and I had a great gig there. I mean, you're talking about going in 6 a.m. in the morning. You sit down, or you don't sit down. You go in 6 a.m. I got an hour break in the morning. I worked for a couple of hours. I got an hour and a half lunch, which I would go off campus and get whatever I wanted in Dearborn. So it was all like Muslim food, which was really good. Middle Eastern food, all really good food. All authentic food from Middle East. Then I come back, work for a couple hours, and then I would get off of work an hour early. I had the best freaking gig at Ford. I was so happy. And you know, like when you work on the line, you do the same job all day and you just go crazy. Well, no, not me. I had a tag relief job, so every 20 minutes I was changing jobs. So I do a job 20 minutes, go do another job 20 minutes, go do it. It was a little harder, but for mentally, it was a lot more stimulating mentally to do that. So I was super happy at Ford, and I was super happy at Ford, and I didn't want to leave Ford. That was the thing. It was like the money was good, everything was good, but it just got to the point where I was just doing entirely too much. We were dealing with, 2021, we're still dealing with labor problems and all that, and I just didn't have the help. I was down to my last worker, which was my little brother, and we were doing everything, and we were cramming everything in a very short period of time so that I could get back to Ford. And it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure on him. It was a lot of pressure on me. My attendance really started to suffer at Ford, and I can't blame nobody but myself, because my attendance got bad. I think there was maybe a little issue with the attendance, and I just said, forget it. I can't deal with it no more. I just started missing. And I got to the point where my little brother quit the company on me, and I had to do everything by myself for a period of time, and it just wasn't going to work where I could be at Ford too. So I really had to just decide on whether I would just do Ford or if I would let the business go. It was just, I was tired personally from working so much anyway. I mean, I was doing two jobs. I had my little brother. He didn't want to be out here doing any kind of work by himself, and I was kind of training him to do stuff by himself, and he just wasn't happy about that. And every time he had to do something by himself, he'd complain, and he ultimately quit. So then I had to basically do the whole business by myself and then Ford, and I just couldn't keep it all together. So at Ford, they ended up getting rid of my gravy job that I had. They just got rid of the whole thing, and I would have had to go back to just doing regular line work anyway. And that's my friend with the St. Clair Shores Police. But anyway, it was a tough call, it was a tough decision, and I ultimately decided to stick with the business instead of closing up the business doors. It just, I don't know. I didn't want to go back to doing regular work. I did that for so long at the company at Ford, the regular job, the job where you just work on the assembly line for 10 to 11 hours a day. You do the same monotonous work all day. I already did that for years. I did that. I've done 10 years pretty much with the company, and I think maybe 2 years were the tag relief job. And then toward the end, I definitely was doing more of the monotonous work from time to time, because as they were getting ready to cancel that position that I had, they cancel it for a day or two, and then they would kind of like, you never knew. You walk in thinking you're gonna do your job, and they cancel your job because they were short staffed. They didn't have enough people to do the tag relief job. They didn't have enough parts and all that. I was there through all the part shortages. You're building trucks without parts so they can go sit in a lot somewhere or whatever. I've been through all that there, and it was crazy. Like, me quitting that company in 21 was the craziest thing. Like, at first, I got a month off from my attendance because I was doing multiple jobs, and then they dropped the mask mandates, and I was so happy. Like, keep in mind, I wore a mask in the company working and sweating and not being able to really breathe right for like a year and a half. So they dropped the mask mandate, and we worked without masks. It was so interesting to finally see everybody's faces, because like, some of these people I've been working with for a year, some of these people I've never even seen them without a mask, because I switched over to a new area and everybody was new, and I've never seen them without a mask. So it was like, oh wow, I can actually see. I've never seen you before. Like, you've never seen me. We've never seen each other. So I used to joke. I'd be like, hey, why don't you just take it off so we can at least see each other? We can at least see what we look like. Like, can you just pull it off for a minute? So I walked in, and we finally dropped the mask. I take a month off for attendance, and I go back in. And going into the attendance office and having the attendance guy look at your freaking record, and he doesn't even know what to do. He's just looking. He's like, I really don't know what to do. You've only worked 2 days a week for last month. You should have been fired a long time ago. So he gives me the 30 days off. I come back to work a day or two. There's no mask. All of a sudden, they bring the mask back. They're like, oh, we're gonna bring it back. There's an outbreak. You gotta wear a mask again. At that point, guys, I was done. I walked into that company. I didn't put on a mask. Everybody else in the whole company was wearing a mask. I walked in without one. I went onto the job. I started working. The supervisors, the management. At first, all the other workers were cool with it. They were like, man, look at you. You're standing up. You're not wearing the mask. And everybody else is wearing it. They swarmed me. The management swarmed me. They're just like, put on your mask, put on your mask. I'm ignoring them. And I got in a lot of trouble that day. They were started writing me up for whatever. They wouldn't write me up for the mask though, but they were writing me up for all this other stuff, and all that. It was just a big mess. And then it was weird. It was a weird thing, because like, at first everybody was cool when on my side and like, yeah, right on, no mask. And then when the management starts swarming, they're like, hey man, just put on your mask, just wear it. This is just not worth it. So I fought for like half a day, and then I put on a mask after that, just because it was just too much. And then, guys, that was it. That was the last time I walked into that company. I just didn't go back. I just didn't walk back into that company ever again, because it was just, I don't know, that whole thing. Like, I'm out here working, guys, out here. Yes, it's hard and it's hot and it's whatever, but I'm breathing fresh air. I'm breathing in fresh. And this whole thing with the mask was just, it was just too much. I always had problems with it. I've been written up for it a bunch of times, and most of the time I wore it, but when they took it away and they brought it back, and then with everything else, that was kind of a big factor for me picking my own business over just the Ford thing. Is a good gig. The insurance is great. Everything about it is really good, but it just came to the point where if I was going to do Ford or I was going to do my own business or whatever, I just kind of went with my own business. And life is tough. The business is way harder than Ford. Going into Ford, everything's figured out for you. You just do your job and you go home and you clock out, and that's it. So, definitely, this kind of leads me to 2022. So I left Ford in, I think, August of 21. that I worked by myself for a while, for a month, August, September, October. I brought on a worker that had been working for me. He left, he come back, lives across the street from me, and we worked together a little. I trained him, pulling a dump trailer, doing that type of work, whatever. But he was in school for heating and cooling, so he wasn't going to stay long term. He ended up staying for a little while, and says C19 became a big political game. What is? Oh yeah, C19. Yeah. So we worked together for a while, and I trained him on snow plowing. So when I'm plowing snow and there's another guy plowing, he still plows for me when when we're not when he's not doing heating and cooling. He still plows for me. So that first winter was okay. I had been working so much, and I had money saved. I made it through the winter. In the winter there, in 22, I took a CDL course so I could have my Class A CDL, and I also took a builder's course to become a licensed builder. The builder's course was kind of a bomb. I never passed the test. The test is very difficult for the licensed builder, but the CDL stuff I got, so I got the full CDL A. So that's kind of how I started the year. It kind of stepped me back a little because it was super expensive, and it was hard for me to it became spring and I'm like in class. That made things very difficult, being like spring in my industry and trying to finish up the CDL school. So I was doing way too much. That's kind of the lesson maybe that I learned in 2022 as we go into 23 is don't do too much at once. My friends were like, why are you doing so much at once? By the way, we're going to go see one of my buddies, but one of my good friends, a couple of my friends were like, why are you doing so much, man? You're doing too much. What I really feared in 2022 is just becoming a loser and a failure. Oh, almost ran red. What I really feared in 22 is becoming a loser and becoming a failure in general. Like, I didn't want to not be doing so much at once, I didn't want to not be busy. And I just did so many things at once. I spread myself a little thin. It's better than doing nothing, but it would have been better to be focused on one thing. The builder's course for me was a huge thing in 22. That was just so much distraction. It was so difficult to pass that builder's course. I never passed it, and I studied and studied and studied and studied and studied and spent hundreds of dollars, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Are we pulling out? Are you pulling out on me? All right, no, she didn't. It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I've spent on this builder's course and hours and hours and hours trying to test. And that was the thing, like running a business, having multiple employees, being short-staffed, trying to take this course, and I just never passed. And I still got like a little bit of a window to pass this course, but we'll see what happens if I can. So that's how I'm feeling at my work. At least I don't feel like I couldn't read it, disappeared too fast. I will read that. But that was a big thing for me, is that builder's course was like, the builder's course, the CDL, at least I passed the CDL. Oh my goodness, the test for that CDL was so hard. The shifting of a semi, what are they? Like, I forget how many speeds they are. They're like 10 speeds, I think they were. Oh my God, the shifting. I was so nervous during the test, the anxiety of taking that test. But the builder's course though, I never passed it, and I was just stretching myself so thin. I took the training for the builder's course, then I did 4 weeks of the CDL school, and then I had to take the builder's test. I had no time to study for it, and I just bombed on the test. And then I took it again over the summer, I bombed it again. Then I took it again in the fall, and I bombed it again. So if I take it again, at least now I can study and I can sit down and focus on studying. But for me, builder's course information is just not wanting to work. It's just not wanting to stick into my head. I'm just trying to get that license because it lets you pull the permits, and it lets you do concrete, and it lets you do all this different stuff that you can't do without a license.
But I really need to sit down over the next couple of days and figure out if I'm gonna try again or not. So right after I got the CDL, I wanted to get the CDL because I'm driving dirty. Ever since that dump trailer got stolen from me, I realized that me cutting corners, when it got stolen, the storage wasn't right, the locking wasn't right. Like now, when I'm doing, I have so many freaking locks, so much money tied up in just locking my, and then GPS tracking every item, and then guys, the secret that stays here. We're 35 minutes in. There's like two people here. This stays between us. When you look in that dump trailer and you see that GPS unit, that's not the GPS unit. There's another GPS right now, and people take that off. That's not the GPS. There's another GPS. Everything is so methodical nowadays that I just I'm so OCD. So what I've done is I had to get the insurance right on everything. Every driver gets insured. Every piece of equipment gets insured. Every like that little $10,000 loss was no biggie for me, for the fact that when I got into that accident with that F450, if I didn't have my if I didn't have my where's this guy at? If I didn't have my insurance right, my license right, everything right, I could have lost so much money, so much more than 10,000 that I lost on that dump trailer. I could have lost 30,000, 40, you name it, a million. I don't know. They could have nailed me with all that injury that that lady had, even though it was her fault. I don't know what I could have lost. But because of that trailer being stolen from me, I really, really, really tightened up on all of my stuff. So my insurance was way more money for me to get the commercial business class insurance with every driver and everything insured. It's not cheaper. My everything that I've done has been getting that license. I wanted to own the 450. I wanted to drive that truck. And yes, that means a CDL license. I want to be allowed to drive whatever piece of equipment that I want to drive. I don't want to not be able to drive this or drive that or drive my own truck legally. I was getting away with it, but how much am I trying to just get away with without actually doing it right? So I took the time to do everything right, and it did kind of pay off. Now, starting out in 22, I think it was early spring that I got into that accident. The lady pulled out in front of me, and I freaking smoked her with that 450. And it's funny because there was a lot of stuff that I was doing wrong that day. Like the camera set up now, we're doing the live stream, and I'm talking to you. But technically, I shouldn't be doing that. Like, this is not cool. Having a video up like that while you guys are sitting in here, that ain't right. That's what I was doing a ton of. Me and my worker, he was in the passenger seat. We played so much YouTube on the truck that day, and we were watching all different kinds of stuff, like about like I don't know, space, freaking uh like astronomy type stuff, physics. I love physics, so we're watching like physics back and forth, we're laughing, talking, whatever. But when I got into that accident, it's very interesting that like I was having a great time and goofing that whole day. We were laughing, talking that whole day, driving with a trailer. The time that I got in that accident, though, that point in the day, absolutely not speeding, absolutely nothing on the phone. I mean, the music was playing, but no videos, nothing. And two hands on the wheel, two hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead, focused on just driving the vehicle. Nothing illegal. No, it's illegal to play a video in a truck. But I think once I hooked to that trailer and became CDL truck, that's when I kind of turned all that stuff off. And it was just two hands on the road, two hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, staring straight ahead, no distractions, driving like a professional driver. And when I was doing that, speed limit not 1 mile over the speed limit, 35 miles an hour. Totally focused. Everything happened in slow motion. This lady pulls out in front of me, and I'm going this way. She's going this way. She pulls out in front of me, and I'm just like, what the F? Slam the freaking brakes. Everything happened in slow motion. What the F? What the F? I see it. Freaking hit her. That's that was a huge blow, guys, for me in 2022. Having that accident, got no HVAC going in here, I'm freezing. Having that accident like that took that truck out of commission for me for the whole summer. That truck was so much money per month to have sitting in a shop all winter long or all summer long. One vehicle, it was so difficult to juggle the one vehicle. It was just annoying, but it also was cool too to see that one vehicle can do everything. While it won't be convenient, it will do it all for me. And yeah, I got through it with the one vehicle, the F250, the 2019 F250 6.2 gas V8. It can do it. It can tow. It can do everything. I mean, it was squatting like crazy everywhere. So, you know, that took a lot of momentum away from me in 2022. That big accident, losing the vehicle, took a ton of momentum away, and just waiting and waiting and waiting and spending money. Even though it was all covered by the insurance and stuff, I still had some fees, the deductibles and stuff and whatever, and it just took so long for that truck to get done. And by the time it got done, the year was almost over. And at that point, I picked up the 350. I was having three trucks at once. That was a little too much, and I kind of made the decision, to let the 450 go at the tail end of the year there. And the reason I did that is because the truck was so nice that I felt that it wasn't conducive to me having workers or having help at the moment. And I just felt like it was too nice of an item. When someone works for you, they made me feel a little bit uncomfortable because the item is just so nice. Like it's everything I ever wanted in a truck. That F450 is literally everything that I ever wanted. But there's pros and cons for sure. Like with this 350, it's an XL truck. I have another plow driver that can help me in times when my other plow driver can't help me, and he can drive this. Like I put another worker in here, and it's not that big a deal. Whereas that 450 was so precious to me that it was not good. It's not something that I would put somebody in. It was only something that I could drive. Other people can drive this truck, not a big deal. Or the 250. They're literally the same truck. I mean, the 7.3 is a little better and stuff, and this truck's a little bit newer inside, but they're the same truck. So not a big deal who drives this truck, that truck, whatever. Like if I get into that 19, really seems the same as this 22. It's the same thing. And this winter I was training a driver to drive this truck, and I was in a passenger seat. And not a big deal. I don't know with that 450. I don't know if I would do the same thing. It says normally I'd be at work, but I took the day off. Great chatting with you. Taking mother to her doctor's appointment. We are heading in right now. All right. Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, so that's the kind of the pro of this truck is you can put other drivers in it. Not that big a deal. It's not a fancy truck. But there's a ton of cons. Like, dang, the cup holders are horrible. I'm always spilling coffee on the cloth. Where you have the leather, it don't matter. And you too, you have a good day too. And I definitely want to get back into the 450, but since not being at Ford, I really have to think about how I'm gonna afford it. Like I gotta pay stuff at a little different. I want to get some of the other stuff paid off before I jump into another F450. But that will be my goal for 2023. My goal for 23 is to really have another 450 because I really do love it. And I know it's not a good thing to have, whatever, because it's flashy and stuff, but it's just my one kink. We all got our one kink. For me, it's my trucks. I really like a nice truck. It's not drinking. It's not women. It's not none of that. It's not strip clubs. It's not gambling. It's not you name it. I got one thing. That truck. I love a nice truck. And don't get me wrong, this truck is nice. This 22 350, it's really nice. It's got a ton of pros. Like you can put a mild little lift on this truck. You could modify the suspension a little bit. Those things on the 450 is not really needed, or it gets real expensive on the 450, and I don't like that on the 450. Like a lifted 450 is too much for me, in my opinion. Don't look good. But this truck with some 35-inch tires with a slight level, I can get down with that. But I do want to get back into the 450 because of the all the things that come with the 450, the load carrying ability, the all that. But this video is not really about the 450. But I will say, having something like that you really love, like that F450, how I really felt about it. There's two ways to think about it. Like number one, like I said, it wasn't conducive to having workers. I wasn't having workers drive it. They don't drive that. It's only I drive that. But what it did for me is it got me up every day early just so I could drive it. I would wake up at freaking 6 in the morning and I would drive that truck for an hour from 6 to 7, or sometimes 4 to 5. I'll drive it for an hour, then I'll sit in it for an hour. And I will work out of there. I do contracts, I do whatever. Tons of idle hours. But that item really got me going. So as much money as that truck cost, I made it back just because how much more work I was doing because I had it. Like all of 21 was like me working every day and then Saturdays, and I'd be like, hey, I got an F450 payment, I gotta work. So I did a ton of more work with that truck, and it kept me thinking, it kept me motivated, and it kept me happy. Like that's the one thing that I wanted, and every day I got to have it. Like it's weird. The downside is like nobody has that. Like nobody in the town has that. Nobody in the area has one of those trucks, but me. And I'm not the biggest player, and I'm running around like the biggest player with the biggest truck, which I didn't like that part. I just love the technology. I love the technology and the mechanical side of it, like your axles and your tires and all that, like all heavy duty. I wasn't. I don't want to really be flashy, and when you drive a truck like that, guys will look at you so long just because you drove down the street. Like a guy's head goes like this. I'm like, man, did your eyes just follow me all the way down the street? He goes, like that's what was happening. That was kind of weird, but uh, that kind of goes with the territory when you have that truck. How they're not really that much more expensive, but they are harder to get. The resale's really good. They're not that much more money than just a normal truck. So if you can get one, they're probably worth it because you can always sell it and you can always get out of it. Where it's a normal Super Duty truck, they retain value better than anything else for sure, but they don't retain as much value. A regular Super Duty doesn't retain as much value as a Super Duty F450 pickup truck. That is probably the highest value truck in a Ford series or any other truck. It's very collectible. So what's interesting about the 450 in my situation is it wasn't a big deal for me to get into an accident with the truck. As far as the loss of it and stuff, I took that very well. Yes, it took momentum from me, and it made it harder for me to conduct business and stuff and only having one vehicle and all that, but it showed me that I could. And I've even thought about doing that for 23, maybe selling the 250 and just bouncing the 350 by itself. I know I can do it. I know it's gonna suck, but I can do it. But that could set me up better to picking up that new truck later in the year. But the interesting point of this whole thing is like, it was very hard for me to sell the 450. I felt like it was the right thing to do. I don't know if it was. I know that it financially was the right thing to do, but maybe not, because my hustle was way higher than without. Like when I had the 450, my hustle was way higher. So I don't know, what, I mean, sure, I could just change my mind and just hustle more without the truck, but for whatever reason, because it's just the thing that I want, it's what I'm into, my hustle was way higher with the 450. So it really hurt me to sell that truck. Didn't really hurt me emotionally to have something happen to it, because I'm not really that materialistic where some other force came in and caused me to lose that vehicle. I can handle that. I didn't necessarily make a decision to lose my vehicle when it got into an accident, but making a decision to sell it caused me so much stress. Like taking off my plow mount, because I wanted to save the plow mount and the module and all that stuff's very expensive too. It's like thousands of dollars to replace a mount and a module and a wire harness and all that. And I still had to get a harness because the harness was different, and that cost freaking $350 just for the wiring when I reused the modules for the snowplow. Just taking that stuff off of that 450 so that the guy could buy it gave me a headache, guys. I'm taking off the mount and my head's just pounding, just beating. Because when it was gone, when that truck was gone in the shop, I was thinking like, man, this truck was here and I was gonna sell the 250, and someone offered me like 20,000, 21,000 over what I was owing on the 250, and I didn't take it because I just wanted to get the 450 back before I did anything. I wanted to see the condition of that truck before I sold anything, and I wanted to wait it out and actually see the 450, see how I felt about it before I sold the 250. Because I literally 450 in so long, I had no idea how it was going to turn out from Bill Brown. So once that 450 finally came back and I saw it, I was in love again. It drove better than it did when it went in. It was like a new truck for real. And I do know that I was okay without it. Like when it wasn't here, the 7.3 was perfect for me. The F350 was perfect for me, and I was doing fine without it. So I just knew that I could make it without the truck. That's kind of why I leaned towards selling it. And not only that, I could make it on just one truck. Really, it wasn't ideal. The reality is I wasn't staffed anyway to have two trucks. It's not working. The staffing just wasn't working. I've been through so many freaking guys this year hiring, and nobody worked. And I really don't even need the two. So it's kind of one of those things, is like, do I just go ahead and just go a year without two trucks because it hasn't worked, or do I go ahead and try again, keep trying to get this other vehicle running to earn money and stuff. But for the last couple of years, it just didn't work. Maybe things have changed a little bit where people want to start working again, but we won't know. We don't know. So that's how pretty much 22 went. 22 was a good year. No major accidents aside from the 450, but nothing health wise. Like I didn't get hurt, so I'm happy about that. I didn't cry at all about nothing, like literally cry with tears. I mean, I complained a lot. That's my goal for 23, is not to complain so much. Sometimes I've gotten political on the channel over I don't know how that's panned out. Maybe it's too political. Maybe 23 I should be less political. Politics is one of those things that it's not helping me in any way to be involved in politics. It's almost nap time. It's actually lunchtime. I haven't eaten yet, and it's almost 2. It's like I haven't had anything to eat yet. Uh, so that's not cool. But yeah, I think obviously 23, I want to get my health back in order and stuff and work out that I wasn't working out. And since the cove, the bug, since that's been going around, I haven't been working out like I'm supposed to. But it was way more hard for me to sell that truck than it was for me to get into an accident. The accident was just annoying that it took so long for all the parts and stuff to get in a new frame. But selling it was the hardest part, and I'm still not even really over it fully. It was a truck that I had a major incident with, and I felt like the truck kept me safe, kept the passenger safe, and I did kind of sell out a little bit when I did sell it, but we have to make our decisions and move on. That's going to be my goal to 23, to just move on from, move forward. Every night I kind of think, dang, can I get that truck back? I could probably make an offer, but it wouldn't make any sense because I'd have to pay freaking way more money than I sold it for. I wouldn't be able to get it back for the same amount. I'm sure that guy's in love with that truck. But yeah, I think everything will be better, and everything's fine. I didn't, nothing really too bad happened, like minor, accident and stuff like that. But yeah, I plan on really hustling. I have my goals set. Even though they're materialistic, you know, still I plan on getting another 450. That's gonna be the goal for the summer here, to get another 450. I could get one now, but I really want to earn it. I really want to make sure that I earn the truck, and yeah. So I do need to go in here and pick up this money, but I don't know if my buddy's here. Let's see here. Let me see if I can call him up and see if he's here. Let me find his number. So the thing about this is I'm using this other phone and I don't have any contacts in this phone. I don't think. Let me see if I do. Oh, I do. Okay. So he might not even answer because this is a different phone.
You've reached Mike from Mike's Lawn and Snow. I can't come to the phone right now.
I can't. I don't know if I can. He's not going to answer. Let me text him. I'm going to tell him to pick it up. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this live stream looks better than the last one. The last one on my old device was, it says F450 cabin chassis or fleet. So the F450 cabin chassis is good. You can actually get a 7.3 in that truck too. You can get a 7.3 in the F450 if you get the cabin chassis, which would be a cool truck. Wouldn't be that, the price would be cool. That's not a bad move. Not a bad move at all. Let's see if he answers now. Seven 3 430 gears. Yeah, it would work fine. It would work really well. The 7.3 and 430 gears. Let's see if he answers. Text him. So it was funny. I actually pranked him from this number once, when we showed up to a job, I pretended to be like a different voice, and I called them, and I was like saying some funny stuff that I can't even repeat on here because it was so ridiculous what I said to them. But I guess I'll go in here and see if he's even in here. But yeah, 23 is going to be a good year for us. But if we can all just focus on ourselves, there's one thing that was called that I read so many books, is insane. But one of the books that I read a long time ago was, I think it's called like Lessons from a Navy SEAL or something like that. And he's talking about staying inside of your 3-foot world. And basically, the guy was mountain climbing with a trainer, because when you're in the SEALs, from my understanding, from if I remember this right from the book, when the SEALs would go through like their budge training, and then afterwards they get out and then go through all these different trainings with other people, like civilian type of people. Maybe there's like a civilian. One of the things that this SEAL was going through was mountain climbing or rock climbing or something like that, from like a dedicated mountain climber, like a SEAL type of mountain climber. And what happened is the guy was climbing a freaking mountainside. He's all roped in, and they're doing their safety. They're like installing like clips and stuff into the rocks, so they have a procedure where they only go so far, and then they install so many locks, and then they go further, so they're always safe if they fall. But when he got up to the top, he started to get scared, and he froze like in the middle of the mountainside. And this freaking guy comes up, climbing up next to him, and he climbs up next to him. Oh, there's the text. What did he say? Oh, he's sick. His kitty got sick or something. So, the guy's climbing up this mountain, and he freezes up. The SEAL, this Navy SEAL, he freezes up. He's looking down and stuff, and he's like panicked. And the trainer comes climbing up next to him. And the trainer's smoking a cigarette. He's climbing up. He's like, I don't know, 1,000 feet in the air. And he don't have nothing tied up. He's just free climbing. He's not tied up. He's not even worried about it. And the guy climbs up next to the SEAL, and he goes, hey man, you just need to stay inside of your 3-foot world. And the guy's like, what do you mean? He goes, you're looking down, you're looking around, you're looking up. The only thing that you should worry about is the next rock that you need to grab onto that's 3 feet away from you. So if you stay in your 3-foot world, you'll be able to climb up to the top. But stop worrying about everything that's 1,000 feet away. You never make it to the top that way. So just stay in your 3-foot world, man, and you'll be all right. So this guy